Welcome to DC Music Rocks. The Washington, D.C. region has one of the best local music scenes in the country. We're shining a spotlight on its great songs and incredible people. Tune in, jam on, rock out. I'm your host, Brian Nelson Palmer, and with me today is Bruno Nasta. Bruno, say hi.
Hello, folks. How you doing?
It is such a treat to have you here. Now, Bruno, you're part of Jazz in the Garden, which I've loved Jazz in the Garden for a long time. So for those folks who don't already know about it, how would you describe Jazz in the Garden?
Jazz in the Garden is sponsored by two organizations, Guest Services Incorporated and the National Gallery of Art. The National Gallery of Art Sculpture Garden during the summertime, usually just before Memorial Day weekend, and through the end of August, features every Friday from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Music in the Sculpture Garden of the National Gallery of Art. That's located between 7th Street and 9th Street and Constitution Avenue, Northwest D.C. And on those given Fridays, we can have anywhere between 11,000 and 14,500 people show up. We've on one occasion—
Holy smokes.
Yeah, within that 2-block radius, with all the art and all the grounds and all the food, the art, and the music, we've had the largest number is we featured 20,897 people on one July.
Now, wait a minute. How did you count that?
Oh, we have a service at the National Gallery of Art in the security department that counts how many people come in and leave. And
Got it.
And on certain occasions, we've had to actually close a gate just because we had to wait for people to leave.
Such a big thing. Well, thank you for being here. And we'll delve into more on Jazz in the Garden and what that is. But it's such a treat to have you here, man. Thanks for coming and joining us today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here and tell everybody about this wonderful Friday evening event that happens in D.C. It's large, it's fun, it's delicious. Come on by.
It is delicious. I love that word. On our show today, we have announcements and news from the DC music scene. We have great music by artists from the DC region. And of course, we have a very special interview with Bruno. So we're going to jump in. 2 quick reminders as we get started. 1, subscribe to the DC Music Rocks podcast. And please take a moment to share us with someone you know who loves music. Most all of our more than 10,000 followers have come through your word of mouth from your shares. So thank you so much for passing us on. Also, number 2, please do sign up for the email list. Every week, we're finding and sharing all these events, this news, these guests, and this great music. So let us email it to you so you don't have to go looking for it. That's wonderful. So first up, we've got announcements. Now, this past Saturday, August 18th, was the DC Music Rocks Festival at the 930 Club. And I just want to say thank you. And wow, there was so much love, just seeing it online. So much love, so much tagging, so much liking, so much sharing. And the night itself was just super magical. So if you didn't get a chance to make it there, the current newspapers thank you to the current newspapers for the write-up. And there's a link in the episode notes for this episode. You can read about the festival. They took some photos and kind of did a rundown on the evening. So I'll let them tell you about it because they did such a great job. And so thanks to them for being there. And thank you everyone who was involved, however you were involved, or if you were there. Thank you, because it was such a treat and such a magical night. Also, did you know there's free outdoor concerts actually at lunchtime right now in downtown, right outside the Federal Triangle Metro stop? There's a massive courtyard of the Ronald Reagan building, and it's right near the Metro every weekday through September 28th. And many of the acts are cover bands, but shout out to the local original bands performing this year, which we follow or have followed and featured on this show. So, I mean, July 31st was Duela and the Uprising. August 6th, Sub Radio. August 9th, Feel Free. And September 13th, you can catch Verona, which is an awesome jazz, Latin and jazz group. They'll be there. So along with all the there's shows every night of the week. So I've got a picture and a link for you in the episode notes. So I hope you check that out. If you work downtown, I hope you go see a show on your lunch break. That might be a lot of fun. Bruno, do you get a chance to go check out, do you work downtown are you at the National Gallery of Art, or where are you located?
Yeah, where I'm located in the West Building of the National Gallery of Art, and that's downtown, and that's between 7th and 4th Street, Northwest and Constitution Avenue. Gotcha. And we have a music office.
Wow.
And in the music office, we do concerts on Sundays at 3:30.
in the office?
No, in the West Garden Court.
Oh.
We've been doing that since 1941, by the way.
Holy,
so it's
stop it.
Yeah.
And that's on Sundays?
That's
at
on
3:30?
Sundays from September 16th through just after Jazz in the Garden starts. That would be somewhere around May 19th or something like that. And every Sunday, and then on given Fridays and also sometimes on Wednesdays, we have pop-up concerts and what we call sound sketches on Fridays inside the National Gallery of Art's buildings.
Wow.
And then we also have feature these concert art events called Evenings at the Edge, and those can occur on any weeknight, like a Thursday night. I think we have 3 or 4 of them. The first one here is on September 13th. It's a great kind of first date place. You just get in there, you reserve online. It's free, but you get a ticket reservation. And then you get to experience art either by lecture or by touchy-feely handsy. And we also have music acts and other features.
Where do people find out about all these different performances? Where's the best
find
place?
out about well over 1,500 events that are presented at the National Gallery of Art, you go to their website, and that's www.nga.gov.
nga.gov. Okay.
And you can there's lots of pull-down menus. You can find out about the free exhibits, the free concerts, the free lectures, and the free film. Also, we have wonderful films that we show that you just would not normally see otherwise.
Holy smokes, these hidden treasures. I love it. Thanks for that. So I want to jump in. Next in our news is our new releases. So this week in new releases, remember all the stuff I'm sharing with you right now are available wherever you get your music online. So I hope you go check them out. They just came out, or we just became aware of them. First is Empresarios released Ten Cuidado, which is, it's a Latin hip hop single, kind of recommended if you like Pitbull or Daddy Yankee. You might love this track. So I hope you check that one out. Also, Chuck Brown released by special request, the very best of Chuck Brown. And Chuck Brown has passed on, but they released this very special request, Best of Chuck Brown. It's a 26-song go-go full album that came out. And of course, so if you like go-go or funk, I hope you check this one out. Tired All the Time released Little Pieces, which is a pop rock single recommended if you like Alkaline Trio, The Sidekicks, or Proto Martyr. And Color Theory released Selfish Mistakes, which is a pop-punk 3-song EP. They're recommended if you like Alkaline Trio or Foo Fighters. And then Bottled Up released BU2, which is a 7-song punk album. They're recommended if you like the OCs, Ty Segall, or Shannon and the Clams. And then by the way, all this stuff is linked in your episode notes, so you can check out the profiles for these artists and listen to the music. We also have new videos that are linked in there as well, music videos that came out this week. A King Called Pedro released Diddy, which is a hip-hop music video. You got the link in your notes. Educated Fools released Alive and Well, which is a reggae vibe, awesome music video that came out. And Tired All the Time released that single Little Pieces, and it's a rock song, and they did a music video for it as well. So those are linked in your notes. Now, we just ran down, Bruno, have you heard of any of these before, or what?
I know of the Empresarios, and I know of Chuck Brown. I know Chuck Brown because while Eva Cassidy was still alive, she worked with him and did quite a few tracks for him and worked with him on stage. And I worked with her also on her own act way back.
Wow.
Yeah,
and did you end up working with Chuck Brown also?
No.
Or you just knew
No, I just knew of him through her. And I was playing violin. I'm a violinist. I was playing violin on some of her tracks and playing in clubs in Annapolis and Maryland.
That's cool. And Empresarios, you have seen them before? Or?
I've been checking in my quest for bands. I've seen some of their materials and enjoyed it.
Fantastic. All right. Last in our little news segment is next up, what shows are you going to go see this week? Because right now, take a moment to check the episode notes to see the list of our hottest picks for this week's local DC shows to see. We spend hours each week sifting through them all and to select and share the ones we are the most excited about. Remember that our website, dcmusicrocks.com, features DC's only live music calendar that is exclusively for local artists. So you can visit the calendar anytime for the full list, preview the artists if you haven't heard of them, them, and go see some live music around DC this week. And in the world of upcoming shows, Bruno, talk about upcoming shows with Jazz in the Garden. Now this Friday is the last one?
That's right. This August 24th, Friday, from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. will be the last show for the season, for the summer season 2018. And in August is when I start to plan for the next season in 2019.
I see.
So
when does the 2019 season start?
It'll probably start somewhere around May the 17th. I believe that's the Friday, and it'll end on August the 23rd. That's not official yet, but that's the typical format that we use.
So it's approximately from Memorial Day to Labor Day, maybe a little before, a little after, depending on how it goes.
Right. So this is this Friday is the final for this season, and we're featuring the Speakers of the House, a great band from Towson in Baltimore that I really truly love because they do cover songs, but they do them their own way. So they will change up the feel, change up everything. It won't be cookie cutter like you hear on their original tracks of the original artist. So I love that. People who cross over, different styles, different ethnicities, really eclectic. And I look for bands that are really true craftsmen. I mean, they're great musicians, great arrangements, great feel, great vibe.
Wow. All right. That's Friday, August 24th. And the name of that band one more time was?
That's Speakers of the House.
Speakers of the House. Yeah, it's fun when they play something it's vaguely familiar, but it's not. It's new. That's a lot of fun. I like that a lot. Very cool. And obviously stay tuned we'll have the links and stuff for you so you can stay tuned for next season's Jazz in the Garden as well, because it's if you haven't done it, I hope you do. And it's a great way to spend your Friday. So I hope you check that out. Now we've been talking for a little bit, so let's jump into some music. This is Liam B. Smith, and the track is Keep Your Head Up.
DC Music Rocks. Great jams to hear by artists from here.
Working 80-hour weeks just to keep the dream alive. Oh, she's so rock and roll. She's got the world in front of her. Oh, everybody's talking about the way you keep your head up. Oh, everybody's talking about the way you never give up. T-shirts over jeans, looking like a magazine. Ooh, she's hyperactive. Just watch the world reacting. Oh, everybody's talking about the way you keep your head up. Oh, everybody's talking about the way you never give up. Darling, you and me falling, you and me darling, you and me darling, keeping the calling, you and me darling, you and me darling, you and me falling, you and me darling, you and me darling, keeping the calling, you and me darling. Everybody's talking about the way you keep your head up. Oh, everybody's talking about the way you never give up. Oh, everybody's talking about the way
Liam B. Smith, and the track is Keep Your Head Up, and that's off the album. The album title on that one is Keep Your Head Up. I believe that's a single he released, but he's got quite a discography that's out there, so you can check out a lot more from him. And if you don't know Liam B. Smith, he hails from Loudoun County, Virginia. It's a 4-piece band. They're kind of recommended if you like One OK Rock or Foo Fighters. You might love Liam B. Smith. A lot of what you heard there. He considers himself a songwriter above everything else and writes with fellow artists from the DMV area, so he's a collaborator on stuff like that. And he definitely, just great. I mean, that more like the vibe like Nirvana or Oasis, or I've really enjoyed listening to more of what he brings to the table. I've really enjoyed it. Bruno, have you ever heard of Liam before?
I have not, but I'm happy to listen to his artwork.
Absolutely. It's such a treat to me because it's almost like Christmas all the time. I get these, somebody sent this to me. It's like, oh my gosh, how do I not know about Liam B. Smith? And now you do. So I hope you check out more. Of course, I got a profile for him on dcmusicrocks.com in the DC Artist Database. So check out more from Liam B. Smith. Now, Bruno, when you're a guest on the show, you bring great music with you, and Bruno definitely did that today. So, Bruno, I want to play one of the songs that you brought with you. So let's jump into one of those. What do you have for us first?
Well, first I want to feature a great band from DC called Black Masala, and their tune is called Devil Sunset.
DC Music rocks.
Devil sunset in a wandering sky. Can I climb the mountain? Gotta ask how high. Devil sunset
Black Masala, and the track is Devil's Sunset, and that's off their album I Love You Madly. And boy, we featured them on the show before, and I love, man, that gypsy funk brass band combination is just sexy. I love it. Thanks for bringing them on, man. So
Sure.
good. Talk about those guys.
Well, I love them because, first of all, as a presenter, they're really professional and businesslike. And when you send them an email, man, you got an answer right back. And I love that. And if any bands out there, when a presenter is courting you, answer them immediately. No delays whatsoever.
Right.
That's good business. On the other side, the aesthetics, I love the way that they incorporate this ethnomusicology into some jazz and crossover into some rock and then just get everybody dancing their boots off.
Oh my God, yes. If you've never been to a Black Masala show, I hope you do, because every time I've been, you just can't help it. There's a bunch of people dancing and they're having a great time and the music's good and the band's dancing and you get sucked in the best way. I really love it. So check out Black Masala and more from them, because we got a profile for them. So, and now Bruno, let's talk to you and get to know you here. So let me give you a proper introduction. So on DC Music Rocks, we're shining a spotlight on the great songs, artists, and incredible people behind the DC region music scene. Bruno Nasta graduated from James Madison University with a music performance degree. He was a member of Richmond Symphony Orchestra and the Richmond Chamber Players in residence at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. He's a featured soloist on Ava Cassidy's multi-platinum selling recordings Imagine and American Tune. And currently Bruno maintains a vigorous freelancing schedule and is active in the recording, opera, and theater circuits of the greater Washington, D.C. and Baltimore areas. And in the spring of 2008, he was appointed the program coordinator for the Friday evening Jazz in the Garden concert series at the National Gallery of Art in DC, right next to the National Archives. I first met Bruno finally because we've played. Tony Craddock Jr. is an awesome jazz artist I played on the show, and I went to see him at Jazz in the Garden. And that was when I finally got to meet Bruno, and I was like, God, Bruno, you got to come on the show to talk to people about this. So I've been such a fan of Jazz in the Gardens ever since I moved here in 2010. And so, first of all, thank you for what you do. And second, thanks for being here today.
You're
This is
welcome.
cool.
You're welcome. It's delightful being here.
Now, one quick thing, just kind of a recap quickly. What is your role with Jazz in the Garden specifically? Talk about that.
Well, as a program coordinator, I source the bands, I hire them and contract them. And I also help the event coordinate between the food service, the music, and the security. And also the facilities management people who deliver all the goods and services so that we can put a show on every Friday. You have to realize that these people work really hard because we construct the set for the Friday afternoon shows starting at like 6 a.m. and then we take it apart at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning so that you can enjoy the fountain, the artwork, and the beautiful landscaping and the sculpture garden. And this event has been going on since the year 2000, so we're in our 18th season.
18 years?
18
That's
years.
amazing. What a cool DC thing.
It started out as just some local bands, maybe 500 people would show up, and now we're up to an average of 14,500 on any given Friday during that 4-hour period.
That's amazing. And now you've been involved since 2008.
Right.
And how's it changed since you've been involved?
Well, mostly in the attendance numbers. I really take a good look at my demographic. I take a walk around the garden and see who's there, and we have all ages, all ethnicities, all cultures, and I try to find bands that will strike a nerve and really entertain all of these people. And also, I want to really showcase the craftsmanship and the artistry of these bands, whether they come from Norway or whether they come from Los Angeles or whether they're just local guys who just travel up and down the East Coast. There are some fabulous musicians here in the D.C. area. And also the military bands. We have military bands that show up with their 20-piece large big band, jazz bands, and like the Airmen of Note and the Army Blues. And then we also have the Coast Guard Band up in West Point, New York, who comes down and plays with us. And these are just top-notch talent, superb craftsmen great arrangements, and it's all for a good time. The food is absolutely delicious and gourmet, not too expensive either.
Yeah.
There's wonderful sangria and beer to enjoy in the garden.
Yep.
We ask that you please enjoy responsibly, of course. And then
Public service announcement. If you didn't know, Bruno says be responsible. However, come have some fun.
Yes. But, there are kids in the garden. It's a family-friendly atmosphere. We want to put on our best suits for the tourists who come and visit us here in D.C.
This is true. Bruno, I have a funny story about that too, because I went to see Tony Craddock Jr. when he was performed at the Jazz in the Garden event, and that's where I met you. But I also, that night, I was sitting next to this couple sprawled out on a blanket, and they were from Minneapolis, and they had just come down. It was their 20th wedding anniversary, and that was how they were starting their anniversary night, was to come do Jazz in the Garden. And so it's like a little romantic thing for them. They're sprawled out picnicking together. Like it was kind of adorable, but I love that vibe that it's family friendly, it's couples, it's kids, it's teenagers and all ages hanging out together and all enjoying that music. It's awesome.
It's also social clubs and ethnic clubs that come and congregate, and that's where they start their evening right after work, and they get themselves some delicious food. They get to enjoy all of the art in the garden, which is priceless. These are major works of art that are presented in that garden. And then you have the music, and that's just one place you can go and enjoy the moonlight later on with your friends as you carry on your evening.
Wow, that is really cool. Now, you talked about the bands being from all over the place. How do you find the bands?
I will make a menu, just like you would plan a dinner evening. Okay. A dinner party. And
this suddenly became a party. I like it. Tell me more.
Yeah, well,
this is good.
What I do is I make a menu, and one year it might be all women in jazz. Oh. And another year it might be drummers. And I will feature the trumpet and the guitar and, maybe some really ethno-eclecticism in music. Each year has a different so-called theme, and I work within that, and I get on the internet, of course. Thank you, Mr. Google. And I find something that is just going to appeal to the many.
Yeah. My goodness. And now if folks are interested in sending, if they think they would be a good match for Jazz in the Gardens, how do they send that info to you?
That's easy. You just simply send your electronic press kit, otherwise known as an EPK. You send that to me at B, like Bruno, dash, and that's not an underscore, it's a dash, Nasta, Nasta, at nga.gov. That's b-nasta at nga.gov.
There you go. Send them there. That's amazing. And now, have you already decided what the menu is going to look like for 2019?
2019 is shaping up. I just went up to Music Fest in Bethlehem, PA, and kind of shopped around for bands. And I was also playing there. I was playing with a great band from LA, which I feature almost every year. It's called Incendio. They're from Los Angeles, California. Nice. And I get to gig out with them. But I saw this band called Bombay Ricky, which is a very interesting band. It's a stew. Throw in some opera.
Okay.
Throw in some Indian raga music, and also put out some crazy rock and roll and jazz, and they are superb craftsmen.
Wow.
They're from Brooklyn, New York. Another band that I saw in that really lit me up. In fact, one of their songs I just have as an earworm constantly every time I wake up in the morning. And that's the band The Futurists. Guys, look up The Futurists. They're from Brooklyn, New York also. And it's an alternative rock kind of thing, but it is quite clever. I mean, they actually modulate when they change keys during a song. I mean, that's kind of unheard of in the alternative.
For those folks who don't know what modulate means, what do you mean when you say that?
Modulation is changing a key signature within your composition.
Oh, so it's a key change.
It's a key change, yeah.
Wow.
So I just find that their arrangements are beautiful. They have these great tunes called, one of them is called Double Knot, and the other one is called Anti-Hero. And just give it a listen, man. Hopefully it'll light your socks on fire.
I hope it does light your socks on fire. Literally, a fire extinguisher for this stuff. It's so good. Now, Bruno, talk about you on the personal side. So outside of music and NGA, what do you do on the personal? Do you have hobbies outside of this stuff too?
My hobby is my profession, or my profession is my hobby. I love what I do. I started out as a professional violinist playing in symphony orchestras, theater, opera, and then I ventured in college into the jazz idiom, and that just lit me afire. And I just kind of combined the two. And actually, the two skills that I acquired, I knew that just like any business portfolio, a big diversity of skills really is going to get you working all the time. And, I have a family to support and mortgages to pay for. So I wanted the American dream just as anybody else wanted. So I got out there and acquired the skills to make a living. And that also includes teaching private lessons and also performing either under my own name or as a sideman with others.
Wow. That's good gracious. And so then do you find time for relaxation or R&R, or what's it look like when you're not working?
My relaxation is when I just put my violin under my chin, lay my head down on it, and just start singing.
Wow. And what do you play? If it's up to you, if you're R&R and you don't have anything you're rehearsing for or practicing for and you're just going to play, what would you play?
I like to take jazz standards and make violin cadenzas out of them. A cadenza is where a soloist features his own composition within like a concerto or some classical work.
Wow.
And so I've acquired lots of techniques, so I try to use it all to the best advantage to really bring out the music.
That's awesome. Good gracious. And now my favorite question to ask that I always do is, if you could offer one piece of advice, what would it be?
Guys, never give up. I've faced lots of rejection in auditions and in scenarios that maybe I just didn't fit into. The people on the other side listening to you have a certain something that they have preconceived. And if you don't fit into that, that's okay. Just go out there and do what your heart tells you to do. Do what you feel is intuitive to you, and you will shine. Someone's going to pick up on it, and it might be an audience member, it might be a producer, but just don't stop. Keep trying.
What's the magical moment that comes to mind in your personal history that comes to mind? Is there something that you didn't quit trying and then there was a big success? What comes to mind?
Well, what told me I should be a musician is that I was playing sports as a young person. I was trying to fit in with it like everyone else, but music was my outlet. Music was my comfort food, so to speak. And so I kept getting accepted by educators, teachers, audition conferences, and the people who are listening to you and trying to decide whether you should be a part of their band or their orchestra. And so there was an acceptance there. Yeah. And so, but I wanted to be accepted on a much larger, I don't know what the word is I'm looking
scene
for.
Or audience.
Yeah, much larger scene.
And scale, yep.
Yeah. And so, when I heard there was an opening to manage jazz in the garden, I was like, I can do this job. And so I went and I presented myself, and I was relentless. The person who was in charge of hiring just didn't get it, but I just kept at it, and I did not give up. And he gave me a chance, and it's all history from there.
And let me just say on behalf of everybody, thank you for doing what you do, because Jazz in the Garden is just a magical thing that happens in DC, and it's really cool to meet that man who's kind of behind it that puts it together. So this is a treat for me, and it's wonderful what you do. Now, one more time for those folks who want to find out more about, if they want to follow Jazz in the Garden or really be up to date on what's happening with where's the best place for them to go to find that info?
Well, the best information about Jazz in the Garden is the National Gallery's website, and that's www.nga.gov. Now, you'll have to sort through these pull-down menus, but eventually you'll get to calendar and pull down, and you'll see concerts, and then you'll see another pull-down menu of jazz concerts. Now, we won't publicize the 2019 concerts till probably next March or April.
Okay.
So you're just going to have to be patient until then.
Nice. And is there one place they can go to really see all the, you announce the shows each week, or they just want to be up to date on the things that are happening this week? Where is that posted somewhere? Social media or something?
Well, I'm sure the NGA has a Twitter account, and of course they are on Facebook. So it's nga.gov.
There it is, nga.gov. Go check it out. Now, we've been talking for a little bit, so let's jump back into some music, because you brought more great music bands that have played with you at the Garden, and let's play some more of that. So what do you have for us next?
So, DC is a big blues town, and part of the Anacostia Delta Blues Society is Dave Chappell, and he's going to be performing She's as Good as It Gets.
DC Music rocks. Tune in, jam on, rock out.
Well, I was down so low as a man could be. I was headed for hell, it was plain to see. But then you jumped right in and pulled me out of the fire. You're my saving grace. Woo! I couldn't get no higher. Like a red-haired vision shining in the sun. She's so fine, I know she's the one. She's on my mind every night and day. She's my soul's desire, and I just gotta say, it's never been better, ever since when? Well, I've been around the block, boys, there and back again. But she's the winning hand, on that you can bet. I'm telling you, boys, she's as good as it gets. Woo-hoo!
Dave Chappell, and the track is She's as Good as It Gets, and that's off Dave Chappell and Friends, the album. It's available wherever you get your music, and I love the vibe. It's just that classic vibe. It's like the Allman Brothers, or it's that Telecaster style. Ooh, it's so good. So thanks for bringing him on. Talk about Dave.
Well, I've known Dave. I had a friend, Phil Matthew, the late Phil Matthew, who introduced me to many clubs and places to go see some of DC's best music and their artists. And one of them was Dave Chappell. And I was always enamored with his skill on guitar. He's a marvelous guitarist and great vocalist. And he's always featuring great musicians as sidemen. You got Barry Hart, one of the greatest drummers in DC, John Previty on bass. These guys worked with Danny Gatton. And just to give you a little history, there's a great documentary out on the DC's Anacostia Blues Delta Society. He's part of a group that grew up in the 50s with Danny Gatton, Roy Buchanan, and then later on tutored people like Joe Bonamassa. And these guys are just major blues artists, and it's just a real jewel in DC's music crown.
Wow, that's cool. And do you remember when you came across Dave Chappell?
Yeah, it was at JV's bar in Falls Church. The place has been there since like 1945 or something like that.
I was going to say JV's is a class. If you haven't been to JV's and you want a jewel, that's in Falls Church. Go see some blues at
They've expanded.
JV's.
They offer great meatloaf, boys and girls. And
go for the meatloaf and the jazz.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So good. Well, thanks for bringing him in. That was good. And you got more. Let's play another one because, man, that was awesome. So hit us again. What else you got for us today?
All right. So here's a fine young man, Tony Craddock Jr., who's got a degree in meteorology, and he's just a fine saxophonist. So he just kind of purveys the smooth jazz idiom, and his tune is called Humidity.
DC Music rocks.
Craddock Jr., and the track is Humidity, and that's off the album titled H2O. All the songs on that album are something having to do with water and meteorology. It's a lot of fun, and I just came across Tony, and now he's one of my mainstays in my work playlist, because I love that good kind of Kenny G vibe on sax for whenever I'm working. That's my productivity music, and Tony's all over that playlist now, so God, thanks for bringing him in. Talk about Tony.
Well, Tony's a young man that sent me his EPK, and out of the blue, I listened to it. I heard his original tunes. I saw that he was a featured artist on the Weather Channel and his history and his education as a meteorologist. And I'm kind of because I have to predict the weather sometimes to either...
so true. It's an outdoor
call
thing.
The show.
Boy, weather would totally change Jazz in the Garden. I didn't even think about that till you just brought it up. That's a thing, yeah.
So I said, let's give this guy a listen, and I really liked what I heard. There's a lot of great craftsmanship, a lot of great technique, great tunes, great arrangements, and truly what you hear on the recordings in the studio actually come out live. Which kind of is a scarcity. Sometimes bands don't sound the same as they do in the studio as live. Sometimes they sound better live, but
right.
It's not the same. And so I look for consistency.
Yeah.
That's part of the craftsmanship.
Wow.
Musicianship.
Well, it's such a, man, Tony's such a treasure. That's, so glad you brought him in.
He's very gentlemanly, well-mannered, a wonderful person to work with, and very spiritual also.
Wow, absolutely. If you look at his upcoming shows, he's doing a performance in a church. You can oftentimes, he'll do some, I don't want to call it gospel, but I mean, clearly he was sort of raised in the church or has that church connection too. So his performances are more than just public jazz. They're also at church or in that faith aspect too.
Check him out. Give a listen. You won't be disappointed.
Tony Craddock Jr. And of course, I've got profile for him, and they're all linked in your episode notes. So if you want to check out more from any of these artists, all you got to do is click the link and take a look. I hope you check out more. Now, we've got one more song, but before we close, I want to take a moment and say thanks. Bruno, here's what I love. I love Jazz in the Gardens. I love what the NGA has built, the National Gallery of Art has built, but then also that you've kind of taken on, and since 2008 you've been doing. It's such a treasure in I don't want to call it the local music scene, but it kind of is, because it's in the epicenter of DC, right near the mall. But it's such a wonderful event, and I love how it's grown, and I love this. It's this amazing part of summer for so many people. And so first, thank you for what you do, putting this together, you and the NGA, but also thanks for taking all this talent. Like, clearly you have the musical talent and the skill to do this, but then also you see, it comes across that you do it for the love of music too. And it's just such a treat to hear what you put together every single week. It's amazing.
I lived in DC all of my life, and it's something that I take great pride in giving Washingtonians or any visitors to Washington a good dose of the talent that we have here in the United States and DC.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this. And one more time, if they want to stay up to date on what's happening with NGA and the Jazz in the Gardens, where do they go?
So for any information about the free events that are occurring at the National Gallery of Art, now you have to understand this is a free museum. There are not too many left in the world. And so there are over 1,500 events that you can access throughout the year at the National Gallery of Art by visiting their website. And that would be www.nga.gov. There
it is, nga.gov. All the info is there. And listeners, I play drums for the DC rock band Fellowcraft. And since I am a DC musician, I consider it a treat to share these guests like Bruno and this great music like you heard from us today. It's all from right here in the Washington, DC area, and every week. So just imagine some of these people live right around the corner from you. That's magical to me. Remember, this isn't just a show. We have resources for you too. On DCMusicRocks.com, you have access to a DC artist database to help you find more artists from the DC area that you'll enjoy. We have a calendar to help you attend these great shows happening all over the DC area every single day. And we have a playlist full of music by DC artists for you to enjoy. So the bottom line is, I want to say thanks. Thanks for following DC's music. Thanks for supporting DC's musicians. And most importantly, thanks for listening. Next week, I have Rory, who is an incredible singer-songwriter, performer that I've shared with you. I've shared her music with you before, and I can't wait to meet her on the show. So if you got anything that you want me to chat with her about or questions or anything like that, do send those to me because I would love that. Now we've got time, one more song, and this one's one of mine that I wanted to share with you. This is Frass Green, and frass like grass. So Frass Green is this really interesting, it's like a classic vibe. So think Beach Boys or Magic Kids or Girls or these kind of artists. All of them, the members of the band are all from DC. It's scattered all over Columbia Heights, Noma, Mount Pleasant, but they definitely, it's just such a classic vibe, but such a treasure. Tyler, one of the members, is working toward his PhD at Georgetown right now in plant biology, but spends roughly one day a week in the New Jersey marsh. So this is one example of the members of this band where they do all kinds of interesting things, and then they also put together this great music. So with that, we'll bring it home. I got one more song, and this is Frass Green, and the track is Miss You.
DC Music rocks.
Is all I've been since you left with your new baby. And I don't mind, I just think it's sort of crazy how close we were but haven't seen each other lately. Suburban bands who keep writing songs about how down they are. And yeah, if I'm honest, I guess I'm not all that much different. But I miss you. I miss you.
Thank you so much for listening to DC Music Rocks. Useful links and information about this episode can be found on the website dcmusicrocks.com. Tune in, jam on, rock out.